Alrighty, I am back. Sorry I had to take a break. I feel like seeing the road out here. I picked a random exit that doesn't have, supposedly, a lot of traffic. And it just so happens I pulled off at a Buc-ee's. Now, Buc-ee's, if you haven't been to one, you need to go. It's kind of a neat experience. They started in Texas, a giant gas station, roadside, whatever you want to call it, convenience store, but it's absolutely humongous. They have an incredible amount of pumps. I mean, you usually have to wait in line if it's busy. Not there. They've got, I'm going to say 80 plus gas pumps set up, and it's all under cover, which is nice. So that's a good setup, but the inside of the store is kind of a neat experience, and the place, with rare exception, is packed. There's people milling around, and they sell some pretty neat stuff in there, and they're not selling you frozen food that's been reheated. They're actually selling food that's getting made right in front of them, and they make brisket sandwiches and all kinds of really good food comes out of Buc-ee's. It's funny because I'm in Kentucky right now, and it's funny to watch how Buc-ee's has spread across the United States. It's really a neat experience. So I whipped in there and grabbed some to eat. You kind of get conned into spending more money than you wanted to, but that's business. And over the years, there was a Buc-ee's on the south side of Houston I used to hit on a semi-regular basis because of a job I had, and I always would peruse the section that has the clothes and the jewelry and all that good stuff. I occasionally buy stuff for my wife back in that section. And a few years ago, I found a shirt, and it was hanging up, and the shirt was actually backwards, kind of a bluish gray color. And have you ever seen the North Face jackets, those really fancy, really expensive jackets? And it says the North Face on the right shoulder on the back. Well, this one on the same location had a very decorative writing, and it said Ruby Rubbish, which I think was I want to say the owner, but the printer of this shirt. And I went, well, that's interesting. I turned it around, and there was two giant words on the front. It said, "Okay, Karen." I went, perfect. So I bought the "Okay, Karen" shirt for my wife, and she likes her shirts a little bit baggy, a little oversized. And she either ties it in a knot, or she does what she calls a Tennessee tuck. She wears that all the time, and we go on vacation, people would stop and take pictures of her shirt, would literally flag her down to get pictures of that silly shirt. But yeah, I just left Buc-ee's, and that was fun. I like the fact that Buc-ee's is spreading across the country, because it's kind of a neat experience to go in there. And everybody inside Buc-ee's is in a good mood. That's what's so unusual about that store. So if you're ever traveling and you see a Buc-ee's, whip in there. With God as my witness, they have no less than 80 gas pumps, and they sell some neat stuff inside that store. And the fact that you can watch them making food versus something that's been, in the freezer for the last 2 months, and they threw it, in a heating area. They're literally cutting up and making brisket sandwiches in front of your face, which is kind of nice. And they're restocking it as they stand there. I just had a brisket sandwich. It was awesome. For convenience store food, it was pretty awesome. But I'm back on the road. I enjoyed my last session on here, babbling. I like when people join in, gives you a topic. But I am back on 65. I am still in Kentucky, northbound, and I'm bringing out the GPS. It looks like the next major town I'm going to hit is Louisville. Let's see, 3 o'clock. Hopefully I get to Louisville before rush hour, hopefully. And then it's going to swing over and go towards Cincy. And I kind of like going through Cincinnati. I like filming it because they've got some pretty fancy bridges. Hey, Randy, what's up? Thanks for joining. I was on here earlier. I ran for quite a long time, but I had to stop and get something to eat because I haven't eaten today. Right now I'm on a run. In case you're not up on this, I'm in an expediting van. I tell people this regularly. An expediting is the basically miniature truck driving, kind of the same job. Hey, Randy, cool, thanks. It's truck driving on a small scale. I do the same job, just in a van, and I carry 1 or 2 pallets, and I have 2 in here right now, and I'm full. My bed's folded up, and I am making a run from Elkmont, Alabama to Toledo. No, that's, I can't even read that. I don't even know what that means, Randy. I don't know what that means. But anyway, I'm running straight to Toledo. This is a direct, and that's one of the things about expediting is I don't have to follow the rules that truckers have to follow. I don't have an 11-hour limit to my driving for the day. I don't have a mandatory break. I don't keep logbooks. I don't go through way stations. DOT completely ignores me, which I like. So basically, there's no CDL license involved in expediting. So basically, this is the equivalent of getting in your car and going on a drive. I mean, it's the same rules that apply to driving a car. So they can send us on 1,000-mile trips if they need to. And the particular run I have right now is, they said it was 700. I don't know. Someone look at a map. How far is it from Toledo down to Elkmont? The T, Elkmont, Alabama. Straight shot up the road. I am, like I said, I'm on 65. I went through Bowling Green about a half an hour ago, and my next stop, my next town I'm going to hit is Louisville. We're going to keep on heading north. I just stopped at Buc-ee's. I was talking about that. I didn't have anybody on here at the time, but Buc-ee's is a big, that's an understatement. Buc-ee's is a humongous gas station, convenience store. It's kind of a neat experience. It came, they started out in Texas. They're all over Texas. I'm used to hitting them. And it's kind of nice to see they're popping up around the country. And it's kind of a neat experience if you haven't been in one. The food is as fresh as it can be because they're making it in front of you. They make all kinds of different, like burgers, but they're brisket, chopped brisket and whatnot. I just bought one, and they're literally cutting it right in front of you and wrapping it and putting it in the tray to serve. And it's decent food. And they have a good variety. They have the slushy machines, and they call them beaver chips. They're like a fancy potato chip my wife's in love with, but beaver chips. This is all based on Buc-ee the Beaver. And the restrooms are clean, which is nice. There's actually a full-time person in there cleaning. The restrooms are very clean, very upkept. The whole place is clean. It's just a nice place to go with. But you can buy certain non-traveling things, and I bought that shirt, the OK Karen shirt for my wife, and she loved that. Like I said, we get chased down by people that want to take a picture of it because they get a kick out of it. But I'm back on the road. This is a direct run to Toledo, direct delivery, and this is for one of the car plants. I think it's full. I'll see when I get up there. But when you drive up here, the big plants run 24 hours a day, and they take deliveries 24 hours a day, which is nice because you don't want to wait around for the next morning to come up. And a direct shot, the time that you need to be there is based on an average of 50 miles an hour. And the math they gave me from when I left was 3 o'clock in the morning. And according to my GPS, which is a moving target, I will be there at 9:45 tonight. But I have to get gas here at some point. So it'll probably be after 10. But still, it's earlier than 3. As soon as I drop, I'm back on the board for a load. And I have a particular Pilot Flying J on the southeast side of Toledo I like to go to because their parking area is really big. And I'll probably head over there and hide out and see if I get a call. Star Fox, what are you doing? You're spelling a word. See, I figured this out on my own. It's not a word. I don't know what that has to do with this, but okay. Star Fox, whatever that means. So we're motoring. It's been a good day. It just started raining here a little while ago, which sucked. And it's getting a little more crowded, but still, now it's back to being a nice day. My next turn is in 75 miles. Let's see, I'm getting 22 miles per gallon, so my mileage has creeped up a little bit, which is good for a van. It's also good for a van with a 1,400-pound payload on board. If anybody has a topic or a question, toss it out there. There is some type of playlist on YouTube somewhere that allows you to play music while you're driving down the road. There's certain authorized songs. I don't have a clue where to find it. I've looked. Once I find it, I got to figure out how to play it. One more part of the process I don't understand, because I would like to play music going down the road to listen to, but I can't. Well, forget they don't like you doing it, but I can't make my phone play music and live stream at the same time. I just won't do it, even on a different app. So I don't. I drove through Atlanta. This is a couple of years ago, and Atlanta is always bumper-to-bumper traffic, no matter what you do or don't do. And I went through there one night, and it was wide open, and it was weird. It was just strange having having the roads wide open. I had music playing on my radio, and at night it's kind of cool because they have a bunch of underpasses that are lit up like a Christmas tree, and you're cruising along, and they have neon lights and stuff, and it looked kind of cool. And then of course we're on a corner traffic stop, of course, because that's what the traffic does when you're trying to get. Snowman, you got your ears on. There's a flashback. Hold on, sir. Let me listen. That's squelching. Patrick, gravel monkey, right on, right there. Yeah, I got a CB. I run one. Most people don't vans. It's kind of unusual for van drivers like myself to have a CB, but I use them. They're quiet nowadays. They're quiet for the most part out here driving around, but if something happens, like something big happens, an accident, or traffic stops, or construction, they light up like a Christmas tree. Or if somebody wants to yell an insult, it's somebody they do. Whoa! Other than that, the radios are basically quiet. They do come in handy. I got caught in Wyoming. They had a snowstorm, and they shut the highways. I-80 actually closes. If anybody's looking at the map in Laramie, and I got cut cross country up 287. We flashed this guy. You caught up 287, and I got to Laramie, and the interstate's closed. And I had my radio on. I pull into the pilot up there, and there's trucks parked everywhere. They're all over the side of the roads. They're all over the ditches. They're everywhere because the road's been closed for 3 days. And I'm listening because, hey, I got a radio. I'm listening to the conversation. Listen to the conversation between the trucks talking about how long they've been sitting there and what was closed and what was open. Is that Adam? Hey, Adam, what's up? What's open and what's closed. It was good to get the inside skinny on what was happening. And then when they opened the highway, somebody announced it. They opened the gates, and somebody said, "Oh, you're lying." And they said, "Okay, well, you stay here. Everybody else, the gates open." And since I heard it, I got my van in gear and took off and got in front of everybody because all the trucks started moving around. Well, a van, so I went zing, zing, and boop out the door, got out of the highway, and got away from the crowd before they all took off, which was nice. But yeah, if you ever come out here and start driving, get a radio. Have a radio. Don't spend $300. I got a Uniden 510 digital. It's nice. Uniden. You use a Cobra. Don't go with a name you've never heard of. I bought mine. It was not used, but somebody bought it, never used it, and had it and just resold it in the same box. I think I paid $35 for it or something.
Let me check wash up at exit 58 north.
There's an advertisement.
Across the interstate from the Loves, we've got an open bay available, so come on by and get your truck washed. It's 50 bucks for a sleeper and 45 per day cab.
That's what I'm talking about right there. You go by someplace, and they use it for advertising going down the highway, which is interesting. And then out in California, it'll be lot lizards advertising. I've never heard it. I've only been to California that one time, and I didn't hear much traffic. But yeah, if you're going to be out here on the roads a lot, get a radio. Which blows when some people are out here driving, they don't have them. You kind of need to talk to them because their doors are open or they blew a tire and they don't know it. Yeah, that's a little annoying. So I got stuck down in Alabama over the weekend by Huntsville, which blows because there's A, no cargo, and B, it's too freaking hot down there. Sticky. But this load is taking me to Toledo, which is, for what I do, Grand Central for cargo. The Toledo-Detroit corridor is where all the Expedite vans party. There's all kinds of stuff flying around there. I have spent an entire evening driving between Detroit and the south side of Toledo, back and forth all night long. There was a company down by Toledo producing, I don't know what it was, but it was in a crate, and they were manufacturing whatever it was. Battle Sky? Or, well, what's up? They were making something as fast as they could, and they would wrap it in a pallet, and they'd throw it on a van, and you'd tear out of there, deliver it up in Detroit, turn around, drive straight back, and get another one, as fast as they could wrap whatever it was up. And that happens. You'll drive all night long doing jobs like that, because you can. Trucks can't do it. Vans can. The only problem I ever had up in that corridor was one night I was coming southbound. There wasn't a car within a mile of me, front or rear, and I'm cruise control on 60, and then off the left front of my vehicle, 3 or 4 feet in front of me, appeared the wheel of a car driving at a 45-degree angle in front of me with the headlights off. Appeared right in front of me. And then this person, it was a maroon, I think it was a Fusion, an older Fusion, turned to make sure I hit him because it's an insurance scammer. Turned into me, and all that did was break the rear end of the car. So my collision alarm cannot see the car in front of me. It's so close in. From my view, I can see about 3 inches below the door handle, and the car below that's invisible. As this person wraps around the front of my car, and because they turned, it spun the back of the car around, and the rear end came up off the ground, the right rear wheel, so then the mag wheel came up into the headlight. And then it proceeded to slide around the front of my car and missed me by, 10 inches, and then slammed into the guardrail. And then the headlights came on. And then as I looked to the right, as I watched this car that tried to hit me slam the guardrail, out my left eye, I see a headlight come on, because the witness to the whole thing that was going along with this guy suddenly turned his headlights on out here in front of me, and he appeared out of nowhere. It was poof, headlights, and then he slowed down, then he punched it and took off, realized that they missed their target, which was me. Unfortunately, I didn't have my dash camera installed at the time, otherwise I would have had the greatest hits, a record of the greatest hits ever. That sucked. Well, I got one now. I finally have it. It hadn't shown up in the mail when I started driving this time. But that would have been an awesome video to show. To be close enough to someone that the collision alarm can't even see it. But yes, insurance scammers come a dime a dozen. I don't care what. Get a dash camera, front and rear. And don't buy a cheap one. And if you have somebody hit you and take off, you filmed it, call out the license plate so you record it in case the camera didn't get a good shot of it or it was blurry. Because everybody's out here looking to make a buck off you. Big truck. Like the cruise set on 62, and I get 22 miles per gallon out of this hot rod right now. So this guy wants to come over. Can you maintain? No, you cannot. I'm trying to read this. Leandro Mendez? What does that symbol mean? YouTube and a bunch of smiley faces? What is that supposed to mean? If anybody's at all interested in getting into driving, trucking or expediting, being an expediter is the easiest and quickest and cheapest way to try this line of work out, because some people are okay doing this kind of work, being on the road. Some people enjoy it, some people hate it. And it's really bad if you spend a bunch of time, money, and energy to come out here and be invested and find out you don't like it. So doing what I'm doing, which is expediting, is the cheapest and quickest way to get into this line of work is to contact any company that does expediting. Pick one. The company themselves do not own the vans. The vans are owned by individual people. The companies are just the dispatch and the insurance. Will be working for a person who owns the van. And I've met a guy, he owned 5 vans. And he hired drivers. So you go out and drive, he pays for the van, he pays for the insurance. The company you drive for that the van operates under pays for the loaded insurance. So the driver's responsibility is driving the van, doing the maintenance, he's not paying for it, but you do it, and then you split the money. It's a moving target, but I've heard 70-30 and I've heard 35-65. So I guess it just depends on whatever deal you've worked out with the owner of the van. And the driver has to pay for his own gas. And there's a reason for that. It very much controls how you drive and how you shop for the right price of fuel. And there's tricks to that I can teach people if they're interested. Especially if we do it on a big scale. Uh-oh. I don't speed, but I always have that on board because I like to know where they are. Ooh, another deer on the side of the road. Cool. Yeah, the speed limit through here is 70, and I'm going 62. That's my set speed at all times. Better gas mileage. Already nothing. I had mentioned this earlier when I was live streaming. You have a bunk in your van, so you sleep in here. It's cheaper than trying to pay for hotels because you won't make a dime out here if you're buying hotel rooms every night. And I did meet a guy that was doing that, and he didn't last. Currently, what state am I in, Chad? I'm on I-65 North, and I'm in Kentucky, heading towards, what am I heading towards? My next turn is Louisville. In Louisville, turn to the northeast and going towards Cincy. My ultimate target today is Toledo. I got a direct to Toledo. I have 2 relatively tall pallets. Auto Parts couldn't tell you what they were. They could be sex toys. I don't know because they're the way it's sealed up. I don't really dwell on what I'm carrying. I just know each pallet weighs 700 pounds. Let me see here. I'm reading my paperwork. Yeah. I don't know. There's 1,008 of them in each box, but what it is a mystery to me. So, never mind. I have no idea what it is. Could be nuts and bolts. I've carried a little bit of everything. I've carried dipsticks. I've carried the framework that goes behind the dashboard. I've carried pallets of window, the door gasket. You know, that thing that seals your door when you close it all the way around. I've had a dump truck load of those on board. It just depends on what they're short on or what's been damaged. Okay, I'm in Edmonton, Kentucky, 40 miles east of Cave City. All right, I just went by Cave City a little while ago. I was talking about that earlier today, about Mammoth Caves and going in there. That's that Mammoth Cave. I went through there in 1987 when I was playing Army. They had a weekend. They took us and ran us through there. I didn't know it existed. And then I took my wife through there here not too long ago. In 2022, we were up in this area, and I saw the sign. I went, I remember that. And I ran her through Mammoth Caves, which is really a cool experience. she enjoyed that. Yeah, my wife and I are both turning 57 next month, and we have reached the age where acquiring things is no longer really interesting to us. It hasn't been for a while. When you're young, you want to get stuff. When you're old, you want to do stuff. No, Chad, not a truck driver. I am an expediter, which is the same job, but I'm in a van. I'm driving a box van. I literally do their same job, just on a smaller scale. I drive all over the country. And just what I do is a hurry-up delivery, something they don't want delayed. They need it there right now. So they'll put 1 or 2 pallets in here and say, go. And truckers have all kinds of rules and laws and regulations they have to follow that don't really apply to me. This is as if I was driving my car. I don't go to commercial vehicle checkpoints, don't bother me. I don't go to weigh stations. I'm not limited to 11 hours. I don't have any problem finding parking. I just go. I can drive 20 hours if I want to, and it's completely legal. So yeah, this is like truck driving, the easy version. And a lot of expediters that I've met used to be truck drivers. This is just easier to do. Cheaper to get into, also. A lot easier to get into. I'm just talking about something I already lost. Oh, Mammoth Caves. Yeah, we took the wife to Mammoth Caves, got to run through there. Oh, it's a neat experience because, like I was saying, the wife and I are at that point where we want to go do stuff. We don't want to buy things. We have our townhouse, it's bought and paid for, and we're good to go. So here a month ago, we went on a train ride. There's videos in my playlist somewhere under vacation. We flew to Chicago, got on the Amtrak Empire Builder, and rode it to Seattle. Across all those northern states, we haven't spent much time, and got to experience the train ride and the scenery, which was kind of cool, and then flew home. That was last month's adventure. Next month, she's going to fly out to New York, Pittsburgh to be exact, and then I'm picking her up and driving her into New York across the border. I'll be up here in the van, so I'll be in the area. We're going to hang out with my cousin and his wife. They live on the family farm because we're just, like I said, we're bouncing around doing stuff and experiencing stuff. I think the next trip, which will be a little delay before we get to it, I think our next adventure might be a cruise, and I don't mean in the Caribbean, even though it's 85 miles from my house. We're probably going to go to Seattle again, get on a ship and go up through Alaska and try that out. I'd like to find a cruise that starts in Seattle and ends in Anchorage. That's what I'd like to do. And then hang around Anchorage for a couple days and then get on a plane and fly home. If I can find one that does that, and from what looking I'm doing, I'm not having a lot of luck. But when I get closer to that, I'm going to go ahead and do that. But I think that's going to be our next thing. We'll play up there. We've done Key West. We've done Colorado a couple times. We went out to Southern California to we wanted to see the MASH film location because it's going to go away someday. And we've been to Mexico twice. Puerto Vallarta, 2 thumbs up. Tulum, you can keep it. Let's see. Are you going to be coming back through Cave City sometime? I have no idea. There's no way to know what this job is going to entail. They just call you and they say, I got one for you. And I go, okay, what's it? Okay, you're taking up 1 pallet, 180 pounds. You're picking it up 5 miles away. You're picking it up 50 miles away. And you're going to fill in the blank. But yes, I blow through this area on 65 on a pretty regular basis. But as far as scheduling this, I don't have a clue. This is all last second. We need it now. And this is a 24-hour thing. I've had my phone ring at 1 o'clock in the morning. And they say, are you able to work? I say, yeah, I'm good. And they say, all right, go over here and pick up and go that way. That's just the nature of this job. So I don't know. I've been up and down this road a million times, so that's what I'm doing. 22.1 miles per gallon. Cool. I just flashed my headlights at this guy. Watch him. Should blink him back. Is he? No, fine. Don't do that. I don't care. Hey, Chad, are you thinking about getting into expediting? So you can do it. technically you can do it for free. You don't need a CDL. You just have to find an expediting company that's looking for fleet drivers. And you're driving somebody else's van. It's that easy. You don't have to buy anything. Maybe a sleeping bag. I'm saying if you're looking for work, I'm saying this job's always looking for people. And there are fleet owners. Like I said, there was one, when I went through where I'm working now, this was back in March. I went through their little orientation, let's call it brainwashing. Now it was orientation. They say, okay, here's how you do your paperwork, and here's how you do this. You sit down, there were 5 of us in the room, and I was the one guy that owned my own vehicle. The other guys were fleet drivers. They got signed on with somebody. So fleet driving is pretty common in this business. What about gas, food, and lodging? Well, like I said, this is my own personal van, so I pay for my gas. I have a bunk in here. That's normal. Every once in a while, I get a hotel room. If I have a super long weekend, on Friday, they say, okay, you got to load for Monday morning, and I know I'm not going anywhere. On Saturday, like at 2 o'clock, as soon as you can check in, I'll get a hotel room. And I'll lay around the hotel room and do my laundry and then leave when they throw you out at 11 o'clock the next day. But yeah, you're buying your own food out here on the road. That's part of the job when you're out here. That's what I'm saying. Some people can do this and some people don't. The best load I ever did for money, my most profitable and most fun load I did, I got a late day call. I was leaving New York going into Pennsylvania, and they turned me around. Do you ever drive to Savannah, Georgia? I've been to Georgia quite a few times. But they had me spin around and go up to Niagara Falls to a company that made gaskets out of carbon. It looked like a factory full of giant charcoal briquettes. Everything in this place was black. The floor, the machinery, everything was that black charcoal. And there were big blocks, giant like hay bale sized blocks of charcoal. You walk in there, look around and go, okay, this is interesting. And there was something in a little pallet, and they put it in my vehicle, and the delivery was California, Los Angeles. And I had the weekend, that Friday, Saturday, Sunday, to get there. And I got paid $2,700 to drive out there. And that was a good drive. I enjoyed it. California's freakishly expensive, but I got out there and got it unloaded pretty quick, just straight to them. So yeah, you're paying for food out here on the road. Some guys, I had my last van, I had a microwave and a fridge, and then this one I didn't put in either because I don't really use it as much as I thought I would. I kind of went a little bit bare bones this time around. But as far as if you're driving for somebody else, you work out a deal on the gas and the percentage of the loads and stuff. Yeah, there's some math there. But you got to work it out with that person. Okay, dude, take care. I'll be out here. I'm kind of new at live streaming, so this is a new thing for me. I kind of like doing it. I like, I started shooting. I started doing YouTube in 22 because I'm a lunatic and I see funniness and I see humor and comedy in pretty much everything I see. And I just like to babble, tell jokes. Some of the jokes I've heard, some of the jokes I created based on what's happening right now. Some of my jokes are, based on mods of other people's stuff. And I don't know, if I can make somebody laugh, I think I did a good job for the day. I've got playlists on all this junk. But I've been doing this now for 3 years. I've been doing this. I guess it's my outlet. And now that I'm sitting in this van all day long, it gives me more time to babble incessantly. I wrote 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 5. I don't know. I wrote some very small, very short, very amateurish books that are on Amazon, if anybody's interested. One of them is called, the first one I wrote, my first experiment in writing, and I'm not really an author, I'm just a sarcastic person that says words. There's a book on there called Confessions of an Amateur Drug Pilot. And it's not based on any personal experience. It's based on, I've met some weird people in my life. And I've talked to them in detail. And I took my knowledge of aviation from my career as a pilot and the stories they told me and the technology that exists world today, and I molded it all together and wrote stories based on how it's happening today, not how it happened in the 70s. I'm not going back 50 years ago. So if you go on Amazon and go up in the search bar and write Confessions of an Amateur Drug Pilot, it'll pop up as an e-read. It's free if anybody wants to read it. And I did a few books, and other ones that are closely related to that, and I did a handful of them, and then I kind of stopped, kind of ran out of ideas. And then YouTube comes along and says, hey, here's a new venue for you to act stupid. And I'm like, ooh, that's right up my alley. Lord knows I like to act stupid. I gotta burn some of this daylight. There we go, another guy coming over. Anybody out there got a topic, question, a comment, a lewd remark? There's gotta be something. There's a sign, Louisville, 55 miles. It'll get me in about 4:30. Hope I get out of, hope I'm missing rush hour. Yeah, this time out, I came on the 3rd of this month, the 3rd of July. Took a load from Houston to Austin, which you can't get to Austin. There's nothing in Austin. So I bid it in a way that would take me to Austin and I could get home and, get paid a little bit to get back home. And then, miracle of miracles, when I got to Austin, they found me a load at the place I was dropping at, which never happens, ever. And that load was going to take me back, I think, to Indianapolis. But it had the 3-day holiday, 4th of July weekend, so I left Austin, Texas, and drove home, north of Houston. Spent the 4th of July at home. And then got up that Saturday and drove Saturday, Sunday, and got to Indianapolis to drop my load Monday morning. So that worked out pretty good. But I've been working since the 3rd of this month. And what is today, the 21st or something? I don't even know. I don't pay enough attention. Is this got a date on it? 21st, yeah, today's 21st. My wife is flying out to see me on the 23rd of next month. So I'm going to be out here nonstop. The state driving out here, and then when she flies out to New York to hang out at the family farm, I'll see her. I'll be out there for a week. And then when we're done, I'm going to put her back on a plane, and I'm going to go right back on the clock again for another few weeks. And then I'm going to head home for some time. How you go home out here from the core area, which is the northeast part of the United States, generally speaking, is you get a load to Laredo. And that's a good run. It pays well. It's a long distance. It gets me into Texas. The only bad part about going to Laredo is you can't get a load out of Laredo. Once you're down there, it's a one-way street, so I have to deadhead home. And it's like 350 miles. It says hi. I can't read what that's a symbol. Well, whoever that is, hi. There is nothing coming out of Laredo, and there's a bunch of little truck stops down there. And if you pull into any one of them, you'll see 30 or 40 vans sitting around waiting for a load that's not going to happen. So I drop my load, I turn and leave. I don't even waste my time. I have never gotten a load out of Laredo, ever. There's no reason hanging out down there because it ain't going to happen. That's how I get home from up in this part of the country. I've had 2 loads to the Houston area, which was kind of cool, which helped. One was LaPorte. I think they were both in LaPorte. But yeah, they were right there in that area, which is the other side of Houston for me. So that was cool. But other than that, that's just not an area for cargo. The northeast part of the country is where it's at. There's a P-Hut. What do they charge you for gas? I am squarely sitting on a half tank right now. $2.99. I get about 500 miles a tank out of this thing. Come on, who's got something for me out there? Nothing. What's going on in the news these days? I don't get to catch the news much when I'm out here driving around. I get little tidbits of stuff. So I got a nice highway. Be funny if you made a delivery to my neck of the woods. Tell me you get a big enough van to deliver a shop's swamp cooler. Yeah, it'd be an expensive delivery depending on where you're getting it from. You know, this is mainly car parts and heavy machinery. I think it'd be cheaper just to buy a swamp cooler close to the house. And you're going to get dinged. It depends on where you're getting it from, but yeah, you'd get dinged for it. Oh, another guy coming over. It's a strange looking truck. But yeah, this is hurry up delivery. Normal deliveries of just about everything you get via truck gets picked up by a hotshot or a courier, delivered to a warehouse. It sits in the warehouse for a day or two, and then it gets on a truck with a bunch of other stuff and gets delivered to another warehouse over there, and then it gets taken off the truck, gets scattered about, and it sits there for a while. And then another courier or hotshot driver, depending, picks it up and delivers it to the final destination. What I do is from the person producing it to the person who needs it direct. Usually nonstop. This is expediting is hurry up, we need it now, we don't want to wait till next Tuesday. We need it now. So that would be the difference. And probably, and I don't know the numbers, I don't see the big numbers, but it's probably not cheap. But it is protected, it is hand delivered. This is like overnight stuff. When I was talking about earlier today, that electric motor, when that guy said for the Campbell soup plant, when he said they were losing $30,000 an hour by that electric motor not being there. That's why they were willing to pay to get it there as quick as humanly possible. And I got it there early. Yeah, these expedite vans, I'm telling you, these things are everywhere. You just don't see them because nobody's looking for them. They're everywhere on the road. I'm just watching them go by on the other side. Big truck. Now the CB radios of yesteryear were super powerful. People would put boosters in them and 30, 40, 50 watts of power. Well, now, legally, they can only have 4 watts. Not that anybody's going to come and test it, but they're only good for 4 watts of power. One I just bought was 3,500. Should be here to Friday. Is the size to use white sands and hangers. Hangers? Hey there, have a nice day. Wait a minute. We used to have out in the we're talking white sand missile range. Were you Death Call? Were you like an Air Force puke? I was an Army puke. That's why I'm asking. Sharon Monroe. Hi there. Have a nice day. Well, hi there, Sharon. Have a nice day back at you. In case you're wondering, we are expediting right now. We're in a box van driving from central Alabama to Toledo, delivering 2 pallets of automotive stuff. I don't know what it is, but there's 2 pallets of it in the back. Direct shot up the highway. Need it here tonight. In case you're wondering what you're seeing. And I like to film the road and talk about whatever's going on. White Sands Missile Range. I am familiar with that. Did you guys have the big ass fans, as they are known by the company name, big ass fans, in your hangars? only problem with refilling all your water bottles at a random rest area is you are now held responsible for the flavor and smell of the water that comes out of the water fountain. And this ain't the best tasting water I've ever had in my life. But I don't have a choice, that's all I got on board. I have put...
Damn handheld,
Oh, stop it. I've only had this van for a few months now, and I have put 40,000 miles on it. Put on new tires. It's telling me it needs new brakes, but we put it up on the stand and pulled all the tires off, and the brakes were fine. So I didn't spend that money. Put a new air filter. I had to pull the manifold off to put in new spark plugs. Did a transmission fluid swap, and then swapped out the fluid in the radiator. And the radiator fluid was looking rough. And if you don't change radiator fluid, it'll start to corrode your engine. And it eats up the water pump, and it's bad. A lot of people ignore that. You really shouldn't. I've had 40,000 miles on this van, and it hasn't given me a lick of trouble. I really enjoy driving this thing. And it's a 2020 model, and it's got I bought it secondhand, and it's got the knocks and dings of life as a work truck on it. So I don't have to really care if it gets a little scratch or a knock on it. I'm like, I don't care. It's just that perfect, comfortable place where it's new enough, but not enough that I got to lose sleep over it. I kind of like that. Elizabethtown, Kentucky. I flew, the wife and I, back in 2018, the wife and I rode a plane, Houston to Denver, and then a really small jet. We went to Cody, Wyoming. Then got on paid $160 for a cab ride to the town of literally 10 Sleeps. 10 Sleeps, Wyoming, which is up on the Idaho border. Had one traffic light in the town. I can't remember, American something. Well, hi, I can't read that. Too small to print. 10 Sleeps, Wyoming. And apparently, some guy that was operating up in that area leased a Bell Jet Ranger helicopter and then turned around and tried to use the lease. Wait a minute. Yep. I was both Air Force and Army, preferred the Army. They let me play with the fun toys. Army Small Arms Repair, Air Force Infantry Chief. Oh, got it, cool. Well, I was in the Army, I was a tanker, and then I used my Ninja Jedi skills, and I got into a flight school, and I got to fly Cobras, the EH-1s, remember those? Yeah, I'm with you. I was enlisted scum, and then I got to be a warrant officer, which was kind of fun. But the guy that leased the long range, the jet ranger, tried to use it as collateral for a loan on something, which, how do you rent a vehicle and then the rental vehicle and try to do collateral out of it? It doesn't work. So it got kind of repoed, and it was in some guy's barn. So I cruised up there, and the wife and I called the guy. It was a hotel, had 4 rooms in it. And he said, call this guy in the morning, and I called him, and they said, hand him this envelope, and I handed it to him. I guess it was rental fees. And he got his tractor, and there were some road wheels, and we rolled it out of his hangar, and here's his Jet Ranger. And I told the boss, I said, if that thing's it had been sitting up there for months, and I said, if it's been sitting, the battery's going to be toast. And you can't jumpstart the system. I can't remember, it's a 24-volt system. You can't just jump it with anything. He's out here, right? So he had a battery shipped up there, so I installed the battery, and opened up the panels, and the oils were good, and I opened up the hydraulic compartment, and there was nothing in it. It was empty. I went, oh, damn. And then I opened the trunk on the aircraft, and there was a case of transmission oil in there. So hydraulics for that. I was like, oh, that's cool. This is not a new problem. So I refilled it, checked, made sure all the parts were attached, went outside, fired it up. It didn't come flying apart. We ran it for a little while, I shut it back down, and then opened all the compartments up again, rinsed it off, and looked at it. Everything was attached, and I said, okay, we're cool. We got enough gas to get to an airport that was right down the street. And the one major problem we ran into We were bringing it back to Houston from the Wyoming-Idaho border. And a Jet Ranger is a first-generation turbine helicopter. And I can describe its speed capabilities in the sound effect of it goes like 90, 95 knots if it's in a good mood. It's not very fast. It's not very big either. So we had enough gas to get to the airport, which was right behind us, about 10 miles. We flew over there, landed, then I checked it again, we fueled it up. And the aircraft did not have any navigation equipment in it. None. No GPS, no LORAN, nothing. Just nothing. I'm like, great. There's no maps then. I'm like, great. I got no GPS, no map. Which technically is not legal to fly, but hey, that was then, this is now. So we fly to the airport, they don't have maps. Great. I go through my helmet bag, and just so happens I have this teensy-weensy little GPS I've used 20 plus years ago that I don't even remember how to operate it. So I have to get out my phone and look up airports. And you could just, in an aviation GPS, you just put in the identifier and it takes you straight there. Where are you traveling to? Sharon, I am going from Elkmont, Alabama to Toledo, Ohio. I am northbound on 65, about 40 miles south of Louisville, Kentucky right now, cruising northbound. So an aviation GPS, if it's KTQ, put in QK and then KTQ, and then it tells you go. But I couldn't do that because this GPS was so old it didn't have an aviation database to it. So I get out my phone and look up, find the name of the airport and the grid coordinate. I have to dial the grid coordinate up into this GPS, and we grab some food and water and some other supplies, and we top off this little helicopter and we take off from whatever airport this is up by the border, and we shoot straight south through the middle of Wyoming. Let me give you the idea. Let me tell you what's going on in the middle of Wyoming. There is nothing in the middle of Wyoming. Nothing. There is not a fence. There is not a tree. There is not a rock. There is not a ditch. There is nothing in the middle of Wyoming. And we're flying along 700-800 feet off the ground. We're looking around. I'm like, if the engine quits, which way do we walk? There's no indication that there's ever been life out here. So we crawled across the state slow motion. We dialed up the airport in Rawlins, Wyoming. And because you have to check to make sure they have the right kind of fuel, because we're running on a turbine engine, so you got to have jet fuel, right? Some airports don't sell jet fuel. Some little ones just sell regular, piston engine, 100 low lead. So they had Jet A, so we go in there and land, and I've got a card. They gave me like a credit card for fuel, and I fill us up, top us off, and we get out in this little wimpy little helicopter, fired up, getting ready to take off, and the airport in Rawlins, Wyoming is 7,000 feet above sea level. It takes a little bit of power to get an aircraft off the ground at 7,000 feet. So the way a helicopter works, if you're hovering, the closer you are to the ground, the more lift you have, the less power it requires. So I'm hovering, taxiing a foot off the ground, and I'm pulling 100% power, going, oh, this ain't going to be good. And as you start to move, you start to get out of your rotor washer. There's a transition, and they call it translational lift, where you actually fly out of your rotor wash and you pick up an extra 20% lift. But the transition from hovering to flying is a little gray area that you got to get through, because as you move forward, the front end falls out of that free lift and it's going to descend on its own. So you got to kind of do it quick. So you can, not intentionally, but you can pull 110%, and I pulled like 105 to get through it. Through a rotor wash, and we started climbing, and we turned out south over the highway, and the terrain was climbing with us, and I backed it off to 60 knots. And in aviation, you trade altitude for airspeed and airspeed for altitude. So we're slowed back to 60 knots, and we're climbing, but the terrain is climbing with us. So we're only like 150 feet off the ground, and we're climbing, and the terrain's climbing. My wife goes, "Why are we so close to the ground?" I said, "Woman, I'm trying." We're giving old Betsy everything she's got. was to say, catch y'all later. I've been cooking a pork roast. Oh, right on. And all right, cool, Deathclaw. I'll catch you later. I'll be around. I'll be on for another month out here running around. Take care. And, climbed up and finally got it up to altitude. We're cruising around at probably 9,500 feet, flying over western Colorado. And we went over a ridge line, maybe 200 feet above a ridge line, and there was an elk, I think, standing there looking at us as we went by, kind of like, hey, what's that? Which I got a kick out of. And then we went to Grand Junction, and from Grand Junction, we went up over the mountains, over the Rockies. And the visibility in Colorado was like 300 miles in the summer because there's no humidity in the air. But the fires were going on in Mexico or Canada, and the smoke was up in there. You couldn't see very far. It kind of sucked. But we're climbing up into the mountains to go over the Rockies to go into. We're going for Raton, New Mexico, just over the Rockies, and it's just across the border in New Mexico. And we're climbing at about 11,000 feet to get above the timber line. And we got above 11,000, and I'm like, all right, there's only so much more we got to go with this little tiny helicopter. We kept climbing up, and the higher you get, the less performance you're going to get. And the blades aren't grabbing at the air, the engine can't breathe, and you got to kind of start reducing power because the temperatures start climbing. And we're coming up on this ridge, and I look over, and we're at like 12,000 feet, and my fingertips start to tingle a little bit, which tells me we're getting up into you're running out of oxygen. It's called hypoxia, and I can feel it. And as soon as I felt it, I was like, okay, if it's not a drop on the other side, we're going to have to turn around and go south for a distance. I look over at the wife to explain to her what's going on, and she's already gone. She was gone. She was oxygen deprivation. She was gone. So I went, oh, okay, never mind. I'll explain this to you later. And right there, we were like eyeball to eyeball with the clouds, and there was a little valley up there, grass in it, and then it dropped steep off the other side. We dove back down. That was fun. I don't know why I was talking about that, but that was fun. That was back in the old days. That was 2018 we did that, and we crawled all the way, I never lied, to Houston. We dropped it off, and a month later, I got a call from the same guy, and he says, okay, I need you to take this to Elizabethtown, Kentucky. And the wife and I went, road trip. We got in the helicopter, and we flew somewhere to Alabama the first day, got caught in the weather. We had to spend a day or two at a hotel, and then we flew up to Elizabeth. Still crappy weather, but we made it up to Elizabethtown and landed, and that was, if you remember a few years ago, the guy he's a race car driver. What was his name? Some race car driver was landing in a private jet, and the landing gear collapsed, and it like slid off the runway. He wasn't hurt, but it was like in the news. It was the same airport. It happened like a week after we were there, or 5 days after we were there. That happened. He landed he lived up in that area. A single strip runway in a valley. And he landed. The nose wheel, one of the side wheels gave out. I think balled up. It happens. Oh, we're getting passed by a truck towing other trucks, and they have a little device that lifts the front end off the ground. These look new, riders. Yeah, if you look out the left side here, we have a little tiny lift on these, and they make a train out of it. I'll slow down a teeny bit here. Yeah, those are new. Right on. Delivery. All right. Well, I've been on here an hour. I usually don't go much over an hour. Thanks for tuning in. If I start driving tonight, I'll come back on. If not, I'll come back tomorrow. We'll come up with something to babble about. Take care.